Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Fantastic, I hope. How have things been going? Who would have thought the year has gone by so fast? How have you been working on? No need to ask. I knew you all would do exactly what needs to be done. And when you mess up, I knew you all would try it again. You all are cherubs. All month long, we're going to be talking about this thing called contentment. And, you know, it's tough to be content when you're a little kid, when you're young, because you see so much. So-and-so tells you they got this, so-and-so tells you they got that. And you're like, won't. But here's the definition of contentment. Learn to be okay with what you have. Learning to be okay with what you have. Remember, it's a process. That's why it's learning. We don't all get there right then. And you say, well, I'll learn later on. The sooner the better. It's like riding a bike. The sooner you learn, the sooner you can ride with your friends. Sleeping in your own bed. The sooner you learn, the better off you can be. Tying your shoes. The sooner you learn it, the better off you're going to be. Don't need to wait to be 14, 15 and just learn how to tie your shoes. You work at it when you're 4, 5, 6. The more you work at it, the better you are getting. Your shoe tied, the faster you are. So, I don't know if y'all are up for this story. This is a very, very valuable lesson. Before I start, though, y'all remember the memory verse? Yeah, I love grapes. Here it is. Check it out. Right finger in the air. Echo buttons on. Then he said to them, watch out! Be on your guard against wanting to have more and more things. Life is not made up of how much a person has. Luke chapter 12, verse 15. Echo buttons off. This is Jesus talking. He gives us clear sound instructions. Does it look like what we encounter every day? What you think? Well, yeah, I remember that one time I wanted, and I just got, and that time that it looks right like us. We need to watch out because we always want more and more stuff, more and more things. But guess what? I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret. Remember I said I like grapes. Well, I actually have some grapevines. And growing grapes. I love grapes. They're, I think, my top 5 favorite fruits. Different colors, different tastes. I like the black ones and the different color shaped black ones the most. Love muscadines too. Well, here's the thing about grapes. Before you get this fruit that you can eat, there's something that happens. You know, a grape grows on a vine. and you plant the grape vine in the ground. I'd say it's probably this big. In your first year, it just grows all the way up to the top of the vine. And then you try to get it to grow one direction down the vine and the other direction down the vine. This happens over a series of 3 years usually, before you could ever see any fruit of it. This happens for 3 years. Up to the top of the vine, down the vine, even before you ever see one grape that's edible. Well, what's happening? Why is it taking so long, Mr. Elwood? So glad you asked. Well, for a grapevine to have these really, really, really good sweet grapes, it has to be able to produce the stuff that, makes the sweet grapes. It has to be able to take up nutrients. So what it's doing is it's growing these roots. All the time that you're seeing it go up, it's growing in a root system much greater than you see up top. Because the big roots is going to allow, the grapevine to take up these nutrients to be able to be strong and to be able to produce these really sweet grapes. You say, Mr. What's that got to do with the store? So glad you asked. The grape is a fruit. You can have good fruit, you can have bad fruit. Oftentimes it takes a while for the fruit to sprout up, good or bad. Oftentimes, I go, I want this, I want that. Not content with what you have. It's just in start because you saw her with it, or even that you saw him with it. It may have already been growing. You ain't saw the fruit yet until you didn't get what you want. Then you cried, or you fell out, or you pouted, or you went in your room, or you said, I hate him, I hate her. And you got the fruit, the bad fruit. Yeah, you think it's just because of that, but no. You wasn't content, even before you saw him. Because if you were, when you would have saw him, you would have said, that's nice. That's really cool. Where'd you get that from? You wouldn't say, I don't want one of them. If I don't get one, I'm going to, and I'm going to have a. Yeah. But let me let you in on a really big secret. That grapevine, growing that fruit, after that 3rd year, it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. Heavier and heavier and heavier. So what happens? You get more and more fruit. Good or bad fruit. Depends on how it was planted. Depends on what type of fruit was planted. I'm going to tell you a story today about somebody that had some bad fruit planted. They were covetousness. They coveted what somebody else wanted. It means seeing what somebody else has and wanting it so much for yourself that you didn't even want them to have. Y'all want to check it out? I'll be back.
You are the reason why my heart is beating. God, you're
Thanks so much for waiting around for me. So this story comes out of the book of Kings, 1 Kings, chapter 21. And this is about a guy. It's a king. His name is King Ahab. Have y'all heard that name before? His wife is named Jezebel. Sound familiar yet? So here's what happens. King Ahab is a king. He gets to do whatever pretty much he wants to do. He's got vineyards, he's got servants, he's got all this kinds of stuff. But one day he goes out and he sees a field, a vineyard. Now a vineyard is made up usually of like grapes. You say, Mister, what's the big deal about grapes? Well, back then, grapes were very, very important to the economy, to how people lived and made money. You use grapes for drinking, just your normal grape juice at the table. You use it for wine. And wine is not just to drink, just to celebrate. That wine actually can be like an antiseptic that you put on a scratch or a scar. You also use grapes, just for your dessert or many other functions. So grapes were extremely important. So guess what? This guy named Nabal had his vineyard. Now Nabal's vineyard was actually passed down to him from, one of his relatives. So usually when you pass some land down to somebody, usually that person passes it down to their kids and their kids, so it stays in the family. That was Nabal's expectation, that he would, pass it down to his kids. You don't sell it for any price or anything like that. You may probably sold the grapes off of it or something like that, but the land itself, the vineyard, he wasn't going to get rid of it. But King Ahab, he goes and sees the vineyard and says, hey man, that's a nice vineyard. You could tell somebody, hey, it's something nice, and you're like, why are you asking me that about my vineyard? Don't say that, but usually he probably was like, what's all this about? King Ahab says, hey, I like to buy your vineyard. Nabal says, no, it's not for sale. He said, I'd trade you another piece of land for that vineyard. He said, no, it's been in my family, man. I'm not going to get rid of it. I don't care what kind of price you got. So to tell a king no, a king was probably pretty insulted. So guess what he does? Like many of us all. I got this that I want, or I got that, or I want to go spend the night over somebody's house, have a sleepover, or I want to do this. And I couldn't. I'm not content. So guess what I do? I go in my room and I pout. I cry and I sulk and mope around the house. Somebody say, what's wrong? Nothing. Why are you looking at nothing? Yeah, I know the drill. There's nothing new under the sun. So, that's what he does. This is a grown individual. It's a grown man. A king. He's sulking in his room like he's 6. So much so his wife comes by. That's Queen Jezebel. And says, basically, what's wrong with you? How are you the king of all this land and you're sulking? What problem do you have? So he said, Nabal won't send me the vineyard. Like we do. We don't get what we want. We snotting and crying to somebody instead of being content. Yeah. Learn to be okay with what we have. We still want what somebody else got. At any expense, at any cost. But let me show you what happens. You remember, this contentment It's something that we need. If we don't have it, it grows just like that grapevine does. You really don't see it. Nobody else really sees it. The stalk's getting bigger and bigger. And before long, you'll have that bad fruit. It won't be long at all. It may be a year, it may be 2 years, it may be 3, it may be 4. But you'll look up and you'll be, I'm not happy with it. I always want what somebody else got. I'm never satisfied with what I have. Everything my parents work for, sacrifice for, I'm always complaining about. I'm always wanting more. No, we're not going to say that to each other. Guess what we're going to say? But if I just had this, all I need is this. This is my last time. If I won't ask for nothing else. I know the drill. I played the role. Nothing new under the sun. It's the same bad fruit growing. Trying to help you all so that you all could be content. Being okay with what you have now. So you don't let those roots of covetousness, ingratitude start growing. And you have a grapevine that bears bad fruit. Covetousness. Selfishness. I can keep naming. So Nabob says, I want his vineyard. Jezebel, I want his vineyard. She tells him, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Get up. Go get something to eat. Jezebel then calls to the city that Nabob lived in. And he calls a meeting. She calls a meeting. And before she calls the meeting, she goes and finds a couple of people that actually says, we're willing to make up a lie on Nabob. Now here's the lie. They're going to stand up and say that they heard Nabob cuss the name of the Lord and also cuss the king. Say that the king is something bad, and say that God is not the God of all earth. There was a couple of people. It was actually several. So they took the bribe to be able to, in the meeting, stand up and say they heard Nabob saying this. So what do you think happened to Nabob? Well, when you cuss the king, or when you say something really bad about the king, it's not too much different today. They call it treason, all kind of little terms. But basically, they want to get rid of that person. But even more so, when you cuss or use the name of God in a bad way, they have you stoned to death. So they took Nabob and basically took him out the city and stoned him to death. So guess what happens to his vineyard? It's up for sale. King Ahab takes the vineyard. Got what he wanted. He was willing to kill somebody for a vineyard. You remember all the stuff he has. You say, Mr. Edward, why did he want that? Covetousness doesn't make you say, well, I don't want that because I already had this. It makes you want more, 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 and more, and more. It's not nothing you're saying no to. You want 2, 3, 4, and 5 of things. Purses, shoes, cars. I could keep naming. But where does it start? Right there with you all. It starts at a very young age. Not being okay with what you have. You gotta learn it now. Because if you don't learn it now, And you say, I'm gonna wait till I'm 17 and I'll have it all. I won't want to do it anymore, Mr. Elwood. I'll have it all here. Nah, it don't work that way. You want more and more and more and more. You'll be just like King Ahab. Just like Jezebel. I'd do anything to get it for you. Story then later on talks about a prophet named Elijah. God sent him down there to tell him. This vineyard that you have, you got it by blood. You kill somebody. And dogs are going to lick up your blood. You say, oh, Mr. I tell you what, don't ooh that. Ooh, a king that had all he wanted to have. And went and had a man killed for a vineyard that he wanted for himself. That's what we are. That's what we are. That's what we say, how could somebody do that? But most importantly, that's how we say, what am I doing that I may end up like that? No, Mr. Elwood, I wouldn't do anything like that. Here's the thing. Remember, it's just like the grapevine. It started out small, and it keeps getting watered, keeps getting fed all the nourishments. You don't see the fruit yet, but them roots are getting bigger and bigger. First, it's the PlayStation. First, so-and-so turn their head and you take the pencil. Second, somebody, wants somebody to spot in line. It's all the little things that you become okay with over and over and over and over again. And the little things become bigger and bigger and bigger. Before you know it, you're crying on the bed. One what somebody else has. Yeah. So before you get to that point, kids, what's our word for the month? Contentment. Being okay with what you have. Jesus warns us to beware. It's always going to be something and something and something and something else you want. But don't collect things. We weren't given a life to do that. So be content. Learn to be okay with what you have.